Hi, it's Jen. Today I wanted to share with you an advent calendar tag that I've been making, and I thought I would show you how to do a few of the steps. And with my advent calendar tags, what I do is I do 5 different ones, so that way they're not all the same, and then I decorate them differently. And you will see my next video, I will share with you the rest of the tags that I'm making, but you'll understand why I'm doing the different ones once you see them. But for today, we're just going to be doing this one. And what this is, it started out as a clothespin, and then I made it into an icicle shape, and then I made a tag, so this one's for number 2, and then I added some lace, and this is a glass piece from a vintage chandelier. I thought that would look really nice if the person decided to hang this on her tree, that would catch the light really nicely. And then I just tied a scrap piece of seam binding there as well. So my thought behind this was I kept my tags pretty simple this year, just so that way if she does a December daily, this will go with anything she does, and then she can spruce it up herself as well. And then she can keep the rest of the stuff on there with the decoration. So let's begin. So the tag I used a Tim Holtz Biggs die, and it's called Tiny Tags and Tabs, and I used this one right there. And this one is really nice because I cut the paper into a layer of 10, and I only had to run it through a couple times. So these work out really handy. And if you don't have this, you can just use a circle punch or whatever you have at home. This year I decided to just to use the supplies that I have at home. I didn't buy anything for my supplies this year. I just wanted to use the things that I had at home. So I encourage you to do the same, and let's just use what we have. And so I used that for the tags, and then what I did to get the music notes on there, because I did use a tea-dyed cardstock, and it was white, and so now I try to play around with it, just putting the number on there plain, but nothing seemed to suit it. And then I remember I had this stamp wheel that I had gotten from Stampin' Up! Years ago. And they don't sell these anymore, but they do have them on eBay. People are trying to get rid of them, so you'll often see these on eBay. But, so I did use the stamp wheel to do music notes. Now, if you don't have a music note stamp, you could just take music note paper that you got from your thrift store and just cover your cardstock, your white cardstock, with the music paper, and just use your circle punch, and you can cut out your tags that way. But since I had this stamp, I broke it out, and I did use Memento Tuxedo Black ink on the tag. And then what I just did is I put a line of them on a scrap piece of paper, and then I just ran my wheel right over top of them. And then that way I can get a bunch done at the same time. And then after I did that, I got out my Tim Holtz, I'm not really sure the name of this. I think it's, I don't know, a stamp press, I think. And that's how I put the numbers on my tags. And I'm going to do this one with you because I need to get this one done anyway. And I just put the magnet on the top here. And the numbers that I'm using, they're from close to my heart, and to be honest with you, I don't know the name of the stamp. I will show you what it looks like, the stamp looks like, but I lost the case that went on it, and so it's in a different case. It doesn't have the name on it, but this is what it looks like if you're curious. I will try to hunt it down and write it down below, but I'm using these set of numbers on the far right. And then all I do is I put my number on my paper where I like it. And this is why I like using a stamp press, because sometimes when I stamp things, I don't do a very good job. But with this, I try to, I don't know if that's going to stay on there. Okay. And then the ink I'm just using, it's a old Cherry Cobbler ink pad with Stampin' Up. It's a very old, it's quite a few years. I think it's like 8 or 9 years old. But it still has ink in it, so I still want to keep it. And then I just press it down. And then I keep on doing it until I'm happy with how it looks. And so and then what I do as well is I use a, archival ink. I think that's pretty good. I use archival ink in potting soil to ink all around the number tag. And so I'll just use this one because it's handy. And I just ink all around it, just to give it a vintage flair. Oh, I did it again. I don't wait until the red is dry and it kind of smears, but anyway. And so that's just what I did for the tags, just really simple. And then when she puts it in her December daily, if she does one, I'm hoping that it will match anything she does. And then for the remainder of the decorations, I used a tailor pin or a bulb pin, and then I used a piece of a lace, and the lace that I used, it was gifted to me, is this stuff here. I'm not a fan of the lace that's gathered right here, so all I do with mine is I just cut the top of it off, and I usually just cut off a scallop. And then after I cut off the scallop, I do try to cut a little bit more off, because I don't want the number to be too hidden. And then so I cut off the same amount on each side. And so there we go. And that's all I do for the piece of lace. And then I use another piece from a vintage chandelier. It's a piece of glass. And then I just thread all that through. And then this is ready to go after I tie my seam binding. Just take a scrap piece of seam binding and then just run it through. And then just tie, I just use a knot when I tie it. And then I trim it down, but I keep my trimmings because I can use those for other things as well. And there we go. Things seem to get a little bit more difficult when it gets on camera, but oops. Here, let's just do that. Okay, it all got twisted around. Sorry, guys. Just trying to get it now. Okay, there we go. And then we'll put this, and the number. And that's how I got that's what I did for the decoration. And these are a little bit too long again. Don't throw these away. These can be used for other little things. And there you go. And that's what I did for this particular tag. And then you take your clothes pin, and then you just rip them apart. You got to do it kind of gently, just because I've tried to do these and then it sometimes it will chip the wood and take a chunk out. So you do have to be a little bit gentle while you do those. And then the only thing that I do to start is I glue it with glossy accents. I didn't want to use hot glue because I didn't think it would, I didn't want it to be bumpy, you know. So I used this glossy accents, and it worked actually quite well. I just spread it around, and then I put it together. Put the two backs together. Hopefully I'm in frame here. And then what I use is I have a clip, and then I just put the clip down. And then as you'll see, it's squishing out some of the glue. And so what I do to nip that in the bud right away is I take a wet wipe, and then I just wipe it. And then I'm going to switch sides, and then do the same thing. And then I'll just let that sit there for a while. So after I do that, I just let this sit on the clip for a good while, just because I want it to be good and secure. And then once I have left it, then what I do is I paint it. Now I've already painted this one, and I have this stippling brush, and the only reason why I used it, it's because I had it, and that was the only one of my brushes that I thought would do a good job. And so all I did is I have this Waverly white acrylic chalk paint, and then all I did is I just lightly painted it all around. Now I want these to be more vintage looking, so that's why I'm not doing it solid. But if your style is you like these a little bit more white, feel free to do that. But I wanted mine to stay a little bit more grungy. And then after your paint is dry, I do sand it, because sometimes when you paint it, it does get streaks. It does get it just, you know, it just needs a little bit of softening up. I guess that's the word I'm using. And so all I do is I just take a fine grit sandpaper, and then I just sand all around it. If that's the look you want, if you want it to be more more rustic like this and not like that, you don't have to sand it. But I kind of wanted to sand mine a bit so it's not so white as well. And then when you sand it, if you've got any glue on the clothespin, that will sand right off as well. And there you go. And I really like how it turned. I like how they turn out, because each one is different. And I think it looks really neat looking at each one that you do and how different they turn out. And if you notice, I don't perfectly sand it everywhere. And again, I think that's just the beauty of it if it's not perfect. And then I take the archival ink and potting soil again, and I take this sponge. I don't use Tim Holt ink dauber on rougher things like this because I don't want to ruin the ink pad. And so I just use this sponge that you can get from the dollar store, whatnot, and then I just ink around it just to soften it up even more, just to give it that more vintage feel, so it's not so bright white. But again, you don't have to do that. You can just keep it as white as you want it. And I don't cover everything. And I think I'm done. And they don't take very long to do. And then after you get that done, you just take, I got twine. I've had this in my stash. I always keep twine in my stash. And I just measure out about, I like to give myself a lot of room. So about 20 inches. And then I just weed it on through the middle of your icicle. No, that's not going to work. What I did before is I took a darning needle and then I put the twine on that, and then you put it through. Now this is what I did last time. And so you just weave it on through. And to me that it turns out a little bit better. And then the next thing, if you notice on this one, is I pulled really tight up here and then I made a knot at the very top. So that way, so that way it would be nice and taut. Because if you didn't do that, when you would hang it, it would look like this. And I didn't think that looked really nice. And so what I chose to do is I chose to just grab both ends of your twine really tight, so it's nice and taut there. And then I just twist it into a knot. Still holding your twine really taut. This can be a little bit fiddly, but it is worth it once you... I'm working the knot all the way down. This it does work. This one doesn't want to work with me because I'm on camera, but I'll win. Don't worry. Okay. Just keep on working your knot. I'm probably making this look a lot more difficult. It's not difficult. It really isn't. These are really fun to do. Alright. Oh, okay. Here we go. There we go. I haven't been on, haven't made a video in a minute. I've been really busy with other things that are happening, and so I'm glad I'm coming back. I've missed it, and I'm excited for Thanksgiving coming up. I would like to hear what everybody's doing for Thanksgiving. Okay, and you just kind of wiggle it down and make sure it's nice and taut. Keep on working, and then there you go, and it's nice and taut. And then you can keep on working that knot until it's, and there you go. And then all I did after that is I chose what side I liked on the side the best. I like this one, and then put the ball pen through there. And there you go. You have another tag to put on your gifts. And so I just wanted to come on here and show you. These are so fun, and I'm hoping that the recipient who gets it, I hope she likes these and even uses them as her Christmas ornaments. I'm making some from my Christmas tree as well. And so these are my advent calendar tags for this year, part of them. And these would also be really good if you make a dozen or 2 dozen for people in your life as a gift. Maybe not with the numbers, but just with the little bling. And these would be really nice hanging on a Christmas tree. And not only that, this would be really nice if you gave Christmas journals away. This would be nice hanging on the front of it or on the package that you give. So I hope this was a help to you and interesting. And so don't forget, don't throw away your junk. Let's journal with it. Take care, guys. Bye.